Hey man, there's a quiet shift happening in the world right now, and most people aren't talking about it honestly. You can feel it in conversations between guys, in the way men move through relationships, in the silence they keep, instead of arguing, in the growing distance between what men once hoped for and what they're actually experiencing. It's not anger, it's not bitterness, it's exhaustion. Men aren't walking away because they hate anyone. They're walking away because they finally reached the point where their emotional energy, their effort, their patience, and their loyalty were stretched so thin that something inside them snapped. They realized that giving everything and receiving chaos in return isn't strength, it's self-destruction. For years, men were told to be soft, open, expressive, emotionally available, endlessly understanding. They were told that if they were gentle enough, patient enough, consistent enough, supportive enough, they would finally receive the love they were giving. But what they discovered instead was a brutal truth. The more they opened up, the more they were punished for their vulnerability. Not in every situation, but in enough situations that their trust began to collapse. They found that showing their heart didn't bring closeness, it brought leverage for the other person. And once a man realizes that his softness is being used against him, he doesn't become harsher, he simply withdraws. There's a growing number of men who gave everything they had: emotional support, loyalty, financial contribution, stability, consistency, only to be met with criticism, comparison, or indifference. They did everything right in a world that keeps telling them they're doing everything wrong. It's not that they expected perfection, they expected partnership. They wanted someone who could meet them halfway. Instead, many ended up feeling like burdens unless they were constantly performing at a perfect level. When a man realizes that nothing he does is enough, he stops doing anything at all. Modern expectations placed on men are impossible to meet. They are expected to be stable but spontaneous, strong but emotionally available, protective but never controlling, ambitious but always present, confident but never intimidating, generous but never taken advantage of, and every mistake, every flaw, every human moment is magnified, judged, or used as evidence that he isn't man enough. Over time, men begin to feel like they're trapped in a performance they never agreed to, a never-ending audition for affection that keeps getting rescheduled. Most men aren't broken, they're tired of being analyzed, tired of being compared, tired of being tested, tired of being expected to prove their worth again and again while receiving emotional uncertainty in return. They watch their fathers and grandfathers sacrifice everything for their families, only to be told that's the bare minimum. They grew up seeing men mocked, shamed, or ridiculed for normal emotions, and now they live in a world where affection feels conditional, attention feels temporary, and respect feels extinct. A lot of men walked into modern relationships with genuine intentions. They wanted connection, not competition, but they found themselves in dynamics where affection was transactional, communication was inconsistent, and emotional stability was treated like a weakness. When a man tries to create something solid and is met with instability instead, he begins to question whether he is the problem or whether the entire system is flawed. What pushed men over the edge wasn't one moment, it was accumulation. The little comments, the subtle dismissals, the mocking tones, the lack of appreciation, the emotional games, the sudden shifts, the unspoken expectations, the feeling of being replaceable, the constant sense that they're giving more than they're receiving. One day they wake up and realize they're carrying the entire weight of the connection alone, and that realization is enough to make any man shut down. Something society doesn't want to acknowledge is this: men crave peace, they crave stability, they crave emotional safety, they crave a home where their mind can rest. But instead, many found themselves walking on eggshells, afraid that one wrong word, one delayed reply, one honest opinion would start a conflict, and slowly they began to associate relationships not with warmth, but with stress, not with partnership, but with pressure, not with love, but with emotional labor. When a man's inner world becomes calmer without someone in it, that tells him everything he needs to know. When solitude feels safer than companionship, he stops choosing companionship. When silence feels more healing than conversation, he stops forcing conversation. And when his goals, his routine, his ambitions start growing the moment he stops pouring his energy into the wrong person, he realizes the truth. Peace isn't loneliness. Peace is alignment. Men are not emotionally numb. They're emotionally protective. They've learned the hard way that being too available, too expressive, too giving, too loving gets them taken for granted. They learned that doing everything right doesn't guarantee loyalty. They learn that their deepest feelings can be used against them. And once a man learns that lesson, he won't raise his voice, he'll simply raise his standards. You can see the shift in modern dating everywhere. Men are investing more in themselves than in unstable connections. They're focusing on health, finances, discipline, and independence instead of emotional unpredictability. They're choosing their mission over mixed signals, and people interpret this as detachment, but it's not detachment, it's self-preservation. When a man realizes that his life improves the moment he puts himself first, he stops sacrificing himself for temporary affection. There's also a silent grief. Men carry the grief of wanting to be loved deeply, but being too afraid to trust that feeling again. They're not avoiding closeness because they don't desire it. They're avoiding closeness because they can't afford another emotional collapse. They've been conditioned to appear strong, yet internally, they're carrying wounds that were never acknowledged. And the tragic part is that most men quietly heal alone. Men today are judged harshly for withdrawing, but rarely is the cause explored. Society mocks men for walking away, but never questions what pushed them to that point. It blames men for losing interest, but never examines the emotional exhaustion that drained that interest. It labels men commitment phobic, when the truth is many were committed, they just weren't respected. There is a reason a man becomes distant the moment he feels unappreciated. Respect is to a man what affection is to a woman. When respect disappears, everything collapses. He doesn't need perfect treatment, he needs acknowledgement, he needs stability, he needs to feel like his effort is seen. When that disappears, he doesn't argue, he retreats. Not because he stopped caring, but because he stopped believing. Another reason men are stepping back is because they've realized emotional games are endless. The hot and cold cycles, the mixed messages, the shifting moods, the jealousy tactics, the public validation obsession, the constant need for attention. After a while, men begin to feel like they're participating in a competition they never signed up for. And no amount of desire can sustain someone through emotional exhaustion indefinitely. Men have also seen too many examples of loyalty being unrewarded. They've watched their friends give everything to someone who walked away without looking back. They've seen relationships crumble after years of effort. They've witnessed betrayals that left men shattered, and they've experienced firsthand how quickly warm words can turn into cold silence. These experiences don't make them hateful, they make them realistic. Many guys today are simply choosing environments where their effort produces results. Work, fitness, finances, skill building, personal growth. These spaces reward consistency, they reward discipline, they reward progress. Relationships today, especially unstable ones, often reward unpredictability, and men eventually choose the path where their energy doesn't go to waste. Some men have been lied to, cheated on, or emotionally manipulated. Others were used for attention, validation, convenience, or financial support. Some were blamed for everything while their own needs were ignored, and others poured everything into someone who secretly kept backup options. After living through experiences like these, choosing distance isn't coldness, it's intelligence. It's not that men no longer want companionship, they do, but they want a connection built on mutual respect, shared values, emotional stability, and genuine effort. They're not walking away from intimacy, they're walking away from chaos. They're done sacrificing their mental health to appease someone who confuses instability with passion. Men are also done apologizing for being masculine, for wanting peace, for wanting loyalty, for wanting consistency, for wanting clarity, for wanting commitment that doesn't feel like a trap. They're done being shamed for natural instincts, natural desires, and natural emotional rhythms. They're tired of being told they're wrong for wanting what every human being wants, stability. There's also something deeper happening. Men have begun valuing their alone time. They've discovered that solitude isn't empty, it's healing. They've learned to enjoy their hobbies, their routines, their quiet mornings, their nights at the gym, their personal growth. They've built inner worlds that feel safer than any chaotic connection ever did. And once a man finds peace inside himself, everything else becomes optional. The truth is, men are not giving up, they're evolving. They're no longer willing to suffer emotionally for the illusion of closeness. They're no longer willing to sacrifice their identity to gain temporary affection. They're no longer willing to explain themselves to people who don't listen. They're no longer willing to carry the emotional weight of relationships alone. This shift isn't rebellion, it's awakening. And here's the part most people don't understand. When a man becomes emotionally self-sufficient, he becomes far more selective. He no longer entertains inconsistency. He no longer tolerates disrespect. He no longer accepts half efforts. He no longer gives energy to people who drain him. This isn't arrogance, it's self-respect. A man who knows his worth stops trying to negotiate it. Eventually, every man learns that his life improves the moment he chooses environments that match his values. When he removes chaos, the noise disappears. When he removes disrespect, his confidence returns. When he removes emotional dependency, his spirit comes back. And that transformation is powerful, because it's the moment he stops looking for fulfillment in the wrong places and starts creating it within himself. So hear this, brother. Men aren't abandoning connection, they're abandoning pain. They're not rejecting companionship, they're rejecting disrespect. They're not running from responsibility, they're running from emotional instability. And once a man truly understands his worth, he no longer begs for attention, approval, or affection. He stands tall, builds himself, protects his peace, and chooses only what aligns with his soul, not out of anger, but out of evolution.